Hey, this is Justin with DayTradeTheMarkets.com, and I wanted to look at the first, especially first 2/3 of the trading day today in the E-mini S&P, and just try to make sense of what the software was telling us and talk about some good opportunities for potentially getting into some trades. We like to do that within the framework of this idea of finding that we have various pieces of evidence. So we have, bigger picture pieces of evidence, and we have real-time, in the heat of the moment type evidence as well that's forming in real time. And the idea is that the more of these pieces that you can get to line up or form what we call confluence, in other words, line up or come together, if you can have 2 or 3 or 4 or even 5 of these pieces of evidence that line up at one time, you have a pretty high edge trade. And again, I like to be real clear that we're talking about edge, we're talking about probability. There's no such thing as certainty in trading. This is a probability exercise. And so what you're trying to do as a trader, essentially you're a professional decision maker when you're a trader. And in essence, there's only 3 things you can do in trading. You can either buy, or you can sell, or you can do nothing. And you want to, try to make the best possible decision you can at any given time. And obviously the better evidence you have, real time and bigger picture, the better decision you can make, and the better decisions you make, the better results you're going to have over time. But again, just to be clear, there's no such thing as certainty. You're trying to just stack the odds as much in your favor as possible. So with this as a framework, let's have a look at today, starting with this bigger picture bias that we talk about. And each day in our member center we have we list the key levels to watch and kind of our bigger picture bias. And so heading into today in the E-mini S&P, our bigger picture bias was down. So all things equal, we would rather be on the short side. And we had a key level we were watching here on the 2550 area as well. So that's kind of the framework for starting the day, is we wanted to see how those levels hold, and then all things equal, again, if we can get some structure, we'd rather be on the short side. And so you can see that the first half an hour or so of the day, nothing really happened. We just had what we call level 1 buying and selling bars, which is, it's information, but it's not something that you want to necessarily trade off of. And it wasn't until right around the top of the hour that we had this level 3, or what we call extreme buying aggression bar, that kind of turquoise bar right there. And when we look at a level 3 bar, we look at them as typically being either the beginning of a nice vertical move or a blow off or capitulation, you could say, and possibly a reversal indication. And so whenever one of these forms, you first want to ask yourself if you want to be taking a trade in line with that direction. So in other words, when you have this level 3 buying bar, you ask yourself, do I want to be on the long side? And here there's not really much evidence for doing so. Our filter is gray at this point. Our bigger picture bias is down. We haven't had any other evidence earlier in the day that says be bullish. So there's really you'd have to be pretty aggressive, and if you were aggressive, you could certainly stick a limit order there toward the low of the bar, and you get a point. Maybe you can get a break even out of that trade. But it certainly is because it's against the bigger picture bias, it's almost more something that you're waiting to see, does this get rejected, in which case it could give us pretty good indication that this market wants to sell off. And if there's follow through, obviously, then it's giving us our first structure that the market is potentially going to go higher. So in this case, you can see that the market sold off, it rejected. So at this point, I'm thinking this is a pretty bearish indication, and that is certainly followed up by this level 3 selling bar on the low of the day. And again, because this is with our bigger picture bias down, that's something that I'm, at the time, I'm certainly thinking this market's poised to make new lows and probably sell off to a pretty good degree. And so when we look at this, we have a few options. Again, when we have a level 3 bar, we first of all ask ourselves, do we want to be in line with the direction of this trade? And in this case, most likely you were thinking yes, because again, it's with our bigger picture bias. We're below this 2550 area. Kind of all signs pointing to go. So you have a couple options at that point. You can either just jump on board with a market order for what we call our breakout trade with the level 3 bar on the low of the day. That certainly is an option. Or in this case, you can also wait for the market to retrace toward the high of this bar, because we know our other expectation with this is that the high of this should act as some resistance. And again, knowing that you would like to be short, you're thinking that getting short in this area makes some good sense. That is further confirmed when we have our filter, which is telling us that at that time the order flow is telling us that the market is strongly bearish, and then we have this bigger picture level here at 2550, which should act as resistance, and then this real-time resistance zone right in this area. So I'm thinking at the time this should be just, I mean, this is kind of an ideal spot to be getting short. If you kind of put the idea of confluence together, bigger picture bias is a check, a bigger picture level is a check, the filter is a check, structure in terms of selling at the high of this level 3 bar, right? Excuse me. Right here, that's a check. We have a intraday resistance zone, that's a check. So all signs are pointing to go, and it sold off 2 points, but it didn't go on to make new lows as I would have expected. But again, that's what I talk about when we say edge. You're looking for probability. I would take this trade 100 out of 100 times. I mean, it's a beautiful situation. Now, the fact that it didn't go and make new lows, and then as we were kind of going toward making new lows, we actually had a level 2 buying bar and then this level 3 buying bar with immediate follow through. So that's telling us something has changed. The market tried to auction lower, actually attracted some buying. So the sell-off that we expected did not happen, but you can learn just as much by what doesn't happen than by what does happen, and I hope this is making sense. So in other words, this is an ideal trade entry location. It sells off 2 points. You know, you can probably take a small profit or a break even at worst on that, so you don't get hurt, but it's a great opportunity. And again, I would take that 100 out of I'd take that 110 times out of 100 if I could, because it's just a great spot to be getting short. It didn't work. At least it didn't work in a big way. And then we had some buying evidence that came in here, here. Our filter turned strongly bullish, and that's toward the low of the day. So it's telling us order flow is really telling us that buying is coming in strong. And then you can see we get back above this 25.50 area right in here. We have this red zone, which was resistance, has turned to green, and we even have a series of deceleration bars right in there. So again, even though this is against the bigger picture bias. So if we kind of go through our checklist again, are we with the bigger picture bias? No. So you could say that's kind of a -1. But let's look at the other situations. We're with our filter. That's kind of a +1. So we're -1, +1. We're at 0. We have a area of support here that just turned green. That's a +1. Deceleration is a +2. Now we're above this bigger picture support zone as well. That's +3. So, you know, even though we're against the bigger picture bias, we have a lot of evidence or a lot of confluence come together right in this area. And you can see, so again, it's a high edge trade. I mean, it very easily could have just sold off, but the idea is we knew that we had probability in our favor. Okay? And so I know I've drawn up this chart pretty well, but that's what I kind of wanted to get across here, is that, you know, even though this short trade from here didn't necessarily work out, I mean, it sold off 2 points, that's not bad, but even though it didn't necessarily work out beautifully, we can learn by what didn't happen as to what we expect will happen. Okay? And the idea again is that you're just trying to make the best possible decision that you can based on the evidence that you're getting, and evidence was coming in here and here, and the failure of here. That's telling us this market was transitioning, at least on the short-term time frame, toward being more bullish. We want to figure out a way to be on the long side. And there's other opportunities to get long at the lows of these level 2 bars here, and here's another zone to get long with the filter, and so forth. So I mean, there's other opportunities later in the day as well. Just trying to point out kind of that key area early in the day, the first half of the day, and how we like to make sense of that. You know, this is certainly you know, this is not robotic, and I would hope you're not looking for something robotic. I mean, I saw something, sorry, I'm about to go on a rant here, but I saw something the other day. Someone was selling some Forex robot or something like that, and it just sickens me, because people will buy this and it's a scam. There's no robotic way of trading. There's no certainty in trading. You have to be willing to use your mind and be a decision maker. That's what trading is. And you know, certainly is our belief that if you have there's other good evidence out there that you can use, but certainly the better the evidence that you have and the more that you can make sense of what's going on, the better decision that you can make. So anyway, that's the thought for today. So hopefully that makes some sense, and let us know if you have any questions on that, and we'll be happy to get back with you. Okay, talk to you soon. Thanks.